It was only 8 years ago when Drippin So Pretty would overdose on the streets of Skid Row in LA.
Happened was this fucking crazy, bro. I was like trying to stay sober, and I had like a week sober, and I put on my socks, and there was a cellophane in there, and I was like, bro, what the fuck? And like there was like 4 bars in there from like I don't know when, and I just like couldn't say no.
He had been an on and off drug user, notably with heroin dating back to his early high school days. This would be the second time that he would overdose, fortunately surviving both incidents. However, this event in 2016 would serve as a make-or-break moment for Drippin So Pretty's music career and entire life. While Drippin So Pretty has grown to be one of the underground's most liked artists, who currently holds over 84,000 monthly Spotify listeners, this immense success follows years of pain, addiction, and near-death experiences. Now, over half a decade sober, this is the unlikely rise of Drippin So Pretty. Birth name Davis Wilson, Drippin So Pretty was born near San Diego, California on June 3, 1994. His late father was white with European roots, while his mother is part Japanese. Wilson also has a younger sister, and the family grew up in the Southern California town of Encinitas. Skating and surfing were a large part of Wilson's childhood, and in middle school he was known by most as your normal skater kid. It would also be in middle school that he would first experiment with playing and creating music. To avoid taking physical education in school, Wilson would enroll in band class. Also, he and his friends started a metal band where Wilson would play the drums, and they would perform a handful of times over the course of about a year. So, music was no stranger to young Drip, and by this point, it seemed as if he was living the usual Southern California teenage lifestyle. However, high school would quickly begin a different story. Hanging out with older, bad influences exposed Wilson to a variety of drugs. While he would try weed for the first time during middle school, 9th grade would result in his first hardcore drug experiences with ecstasy, Xanax, and Oxycontin. At the young age of 15, Wilson would use heroin for the very first time. Later on, he would be expelled from his high school after being caught with a meth pipe. He would enter a rehabilitation facility called the Phoenix House at the age of 17, which is actually where his interest in rap music would begin to grow. Wilson listened to a vast amount of music growing up, but metal was always one of his favorite genres. While he had already been exposed to rap music through Lil B, his time in rehab included making beats with dishes and pans and freestyling over them while working as part of the kitchen crew. Eventually, he would also obtain his diploma from the facility. Rehab would also present a positive outcome for the time being, as Wilson would get sober. He would stay that way for 2 years until he started using heroin again at the age of 19. This would serve as a common theme for Wilson as well, as he's withdrawn from heroin and Suboxones over a few hundred times. Ultimately, drug use would follow him throughout the remainder of his teenage years and into early adulthood. These habits would result in legal issues as Wilson was arrested multiple times. He would end up spending some time in jail, but once he was released, Wilson decided it was time for a change. At the age of 22, Drippin So Pretty would move from San Diego to LA with hopes of finding better opportunities. Drippin So Pretty had mutual connections in LA already, as his longtime friend and fellow artist Gigi Neeks had a relationship with producer Charlie Shuffler. He was introduced to the LA emo rap scene by Coldheart, whom he had known online through an interest in skating. Soon after, he would connect with more people from Goth Boy Clique, including producer Nadarb and Lil Tracy at a concert that Drip was set to perform at. Drip would then begin to collaborate on songs with his new acquaintances, and music was proving successful with the growth of the scene. Drippin So Pretty eventually found himself living at the same complex that many members and affiliates of the LA emo rap scene did on Skid Row. Of these people included none other than the late Lil Peep, who Drippin So Pretty collaborated with on their songs Another Cup and Tearing. However, as mentioned in the introduction, it was during his time at Skid Row that he would get back into drugs once more. He found himself shooting dope with homeless people in their tents, eventually overdosing for the second time. By this point, Drippin So Pretty had a big decision to make. Would he continue to use drugs and put his life at risk once again, or would he make a lasting effort to stay sober and focus on bettering his life? He ended up choosing the latter, eventually cutting himself off from all drugs and alcohol. This period involved a great deal of self-reflection, and Drip slowly got better at recognizing and controlling his urges. A big reason as to why Drippin So Pretty wanted to commit to sobriety was for his longtime girlfriend, Valerie. While the couple is still together today, he mentions that he had put her through so much during his days as an addict. Certain lyrics such as "I was so high when I met Valerie" in the song Paralyzed and "I chose you over the drugs" in the song Alone emphasize the importance that Drip's girlfriend plays in his life. Having someone stick by your side through your darkest times was a motivating factor for his self-improvement. To discuss Drippin So Pretty's musical evolution, we first have to travel back in time to the early 2010s. Drippin So Pretty released his first music to SoundCloud in 2014 with the single titled Lotus Blossom. However, Drip had made music prior to this release. According to Drip himself, the first beat he ever recorded on was a Chief Keef type beat back in 2011. On the topic of Chief Keef, he was also one of Drip's biggest musical inspirations. Also, much of Drip's early work was inspired by Soulja Boy's auto-tune singing and rapping. Drippin So Pretty's musical evolution can be attributed to the stages of life he endured. The early days of music were not taken as seriously, and he would often be high when recording. However, some of his work in the mid-2010s expressed the intense pain and emotions he felt. As he began to truly care about his craft, Drip would open up about his struggles with heroin addiction and drug use in general. I would like to point out two extremely powerful tracks, the first being The Message featuring the already mentioned Gigi Neeks. Produced by Platinum producer Willie G, The Message is a song in which the two rap about their experiences with addiction. The purpose of the track was to spread awareness of the dangers of heroin and how it had affected their lives. For example, Drip quotes during his verse, "Bitch, I've died twice in the ambulance," most likely referring to the times when he had overdosed. The next song would inevitably change the course of Drip's music career for good, this being none other than Last Shot, Heroin. Produced by Nadarm Nagram, Last Shot, Heroin once again discusses Drip's heavy usage of the drug, how he got clean multiple times, and kept coming back to it. Because of the song's overall message and personal backstory, Drippin So Pretty was initially hesitant to release it. However, after playing the song in front of some of his friends, they convinced him to drop Last Shot in 2017, and it became a huge hit. The song is now totaling over 700,000 plays on Spotify and over 650,000 more on SoundCloud. Many people felt a connection to this song, as addiction is currently a major issue worldwide. In this clip from a 2020 interview with Mascarilla, Drippin So Pretty mentions how Last Shot has helped people in their own lives.
I see a lot of people, like, bro, I was getting so many messages from people telling me, like, that song, like, I want to get sober, I want to get my shit together, or maybe they don't want to get sober, but they're just like, this is my life, and I'm like, you know, like, I already know what's up, like, I already know there's, you know, hundreds of thousands of people going through what I'm going through.
A big change in style to Drip's music occurred on his 2019 album, Die For You, where he switched to using melodic, faster-paced guitar beats using an auto-tune style of singing. Before this release, projects such as True Love, True Pain, or his work with Charlie Shuffler on So Many Tears and Drag You Through My Hell, does offer a similar approach vocally and utilizes autotune. Yet, Die For You would mark a turning point in Drip's music career. He considered this project to be his second official album, and it showcases the improvement of his vocals and vocal mixing over time. Also, the connection with producers such as Thislandis and Skress contributed to this change. Upon building their relationships, it would ultimately lead to Drip's most popular album released in 2021 titled Rest in Peace. More recent albums such as Betrayed and Flirt with Death are just further examples of his evolution. Over the past half-decade, Drippin So Pretty has seen the most success of his entire music career. He has been on multiple tours with Lil Tracy and Brennan Savage, including the Space Odyssey tour back in 2022. He recently got back from touring Europe and the UK, hitting countries such as Poland, Germany, and the Netherlands. The numbers are growing, and the opportunities are now endless for Drippin So Pretty's future. Currently, Drippin So Pretty continues to release music in 2024, his latest release being the single titled Acid and Nas, which features artist High C. When he isn't making music, he spends time with his girlfriend and continues to skate, sticking to his roots. He also now lives an extremely healthy lifestyle, eating clean and working out. But all of this, all the success he had seen, could have easily never happened. Drippin So Pretty was ever so close to being no more through life-altering decisions made in the past. Yet, after years, Drippin So Pretty persevered and ultimately beat addiction. Drip's story is inspiring for thousands of people across the world.